you here for the Jakarta part or the AI part?
Yes.
All right, so I do have some stickers and stuff afterwards, so don't go home without stickers. And I also have a couple of nice Jakarta hats. I only have 2 of them, so there will be some competition to get them, like ask a question or something. So let's see how this goes. This is the first time I'm doing this talk, so you're my experiment there. If you want to follow me on social media, if you want to post pictures from the event or anything else, or connect with me, you can do it on any of these channels. Whenever people say, we're leaving X because it sucks, and we're joining the other one, then a new one gets added. So it's such a pain in the ass to update all of them, because I haven't found any. On my blog post, can submit to most of them, except X and Blue Sky, I think. But otherwise, they get updated. I'm fairly active on all of them. Lately, I've been very active on Instagram. That's kind of fun to post travel pictures and stuff. And I posted a picture today from I was outside of Duke University, and Duke, Duke, yeah. And I have Duke with me everywhere, so I can have a picture saying Duke is at Duke.
Excellent.
And I got all of these jobs from the Java community, from the Java user group in Malmö. So by being there, that's how you get anywhere in the community. So why am I here? And I'm doing a tour of the South. So I'm going to Jacksonville tomorrow, and then Dallas and St. Louis, and then I'll go to Mexico. So it's kind of a little tour here. But I was actually here in 1977. I was 4 years old, and this is a license plate from my mother's and father's car. So, and we stayed at a place 221 Anderson Street, and this is the building. And when I looked it up on Google Maps on my computer, I could see the street view that it was still there. So I went there today to take some pictures. And what did I find? It's nothing. It's gone. So Google wasn't up to date. So but I was there. It's the address. So I have some history from Durham. I was there when I was 4.
Welcome back.
All right. Yeah, thank you. We're talking about Jakarta EE and AI. I want to first talk a little bit about Jakarta EE, and then I'll do the AI afterwards. So, how many of you are using Jakarta EE? Okay, a couple. Spring now. About the same, yeah? So are you on the newer versions of Jakarta EE or older? Older, like EE8 or before? Before, okay. So, we kind of start the history with the 8.9. But everything before that was Java EE. And we did Jakarta EE8 as well, but that was the same as Java EE8. But in 2020, we did Jakarta EE9, where we did this namespace change of our packages. And you may think that's just an internal thing that we did, but if you're using any Java technology and using any open source libraries out there, you would have noticed that this package change written through the community. So Spring had a lot of stuff they had to do to get their framework together, and all the libraries and dependencies, open source projects, and everything. And this was a legal thing. We had to do it in order to evolve the APIs. We had to do it. It was not something we liked to do, but we did it. And we did it in 9, and we limited the changes in 9 to the package change, that name change, because we wanted this migration to go as painless as possible. And then in 2022, we launched EE10, where we added core profile. So that was kind of a new addition. There were other things as well, but this was the first version that we actually added some value to the framework or the platform, because in 9 we just did the namespace change. And then in 2024, We were supposed to release it before summer. Now it turns out it will probably be sometime in November that we will release Jakarta 11, which will be on 21. We're embracing records. We're adding a new Jakarta data spec, which I can demo here today if you want to, and doing some removals and pruning it. So, and when we talk about Jakarta EE, we talk about specifications. It's not a framework like Spring where you have everything. It's a specification platform. And a specification is a textual representation of the technology, a document or PDF or HTML that you read. It's an API, which is what we as developers use to when we program. It's something that is on Maven Central. And it's a test compatibility kit, or TCK, which is a test suite that tests that an implementation implements everything that is stated in the specification in the API. And when an implementation passes this TCK, it is a compatible implementation. And we can have multiple compatible implementations. And you kind of get this stamp that you are a compatible implementation. And all specifications have all these artifacts. Jakarta 10 is the current version, as I said. Jakarta 10 was, all the blue ones were updated in 10, so we did a fairly more than half of the specifications were updated. Some of them were good as they were. And we added one new specification, or a subset of a specification called CDI Lite. And CDI Lite was added as a sort of standalone thing from CDI, because we wanted to be able to remove the runtime dynamic stuff in CDI and resolve it at compile time, so we could compile to native images. So that's what CDI is, Lite is all about. And if we compare to 11, we're doing about the same amount of updates. So all the blue ones get updated, and we're adding Jakarta data. I'll go through a couple of these, not all, before we go into the AI. So, 11, the Jakarta EE platform, that's a collection of specifications that is you think of when you hear about Jakarta EE or Jakarta EE. That's the platform specification. It's a specification that contains all these specifications and the glue between them. A subset of the platform is the web profile. So the web profile is a smaller platform, but we call it a profile. And it's targeting more traditional web applications. So we have things for UI, you have things for persistence and security, and etc. But you don't have the more enterprise-y things that the platform gives. And in 10, we introduced the core profile. And core profile is a set of specifications that are targeting microservices or headless services. So or RESTful endpoints. Call it what you want. But these are the ones that we want to enable smaller runtimes, and this is why CDI Lite was added. So these smaller runtimes could leverage GraalVM to compile to native. Jakarta 11 was setting the API source levels to Java 17. Which Java versions are you using? Anyone on 20, 22 or newer? 21? 17? 11? 8? So to be able to use 11, you have to be on Java 17. We will set that means the binary level of the APIs that we publish are on 17. I mean, you could compile them to 11 if you wanted, but you probably will get into some issues. But what we're also doing is that we make sure that the TCK runs on 17 and 21. So you can use 21 features if you want, if you just have a runtime that is certified on 21. So 21 is the platform we are recommending to use. 17 is just, yeah, if you have to. We're sort of defining a release cadence. So about every second year we release a version of Jakarta EE. we want to have that predictability so you know when to expect the new version. And we want to set up a release train. Not as fast as Java every 6 months. That kind of doesn't make sense for the enterprises. But, and we see that the uptake of Java around is kind of circling around the LTS releases. So we're thinking about 6 to 9 months after an LTS is where we would like to release a Jakarta EE version. So Java 21 was released in September last year. And 6 to 9 months after, now it's about 12 months after. Initially we should have released it before summer. So we're sort of within that time frame to get EE11 out. And then next time when Java 25 is out, we will release Jakarta EE 12 in 2026. So, yeah, what we're doing this time also is new is that we've released a lot of milestones. So currently milestone 4 is the one that is available out there. So you can use milestone 4 of Jakarta 11 from maybe Central if you want to. We haven't used to publish the artifacts as milestones previously, but we did that now. And milestone 4 is every APIs are feature complete. All jars, everything is out there. Each of the implementation, if you, for example, just using servlet or just using persistence or something, they have a compatible implementation out there. So you can use them, they're done. The only thing we're waiting for is the platform and the web profile and the core profile. Those TCKs are we're waiting for. Everything else has been passed by a standalone TCK. And as I said, Q3, Q4, 2024. So, 11 also, in addition to all the different specifications has some updates, but we're also addressing some cross-cutting concerns. And we're taking away managed beans, because managed beans has been replaced by good alternatives in CDI and other specifications. So we don't really need managed beans anymore. So we're taking it away, making the platform lighter. We're also saying that optional features are not allowed into the platform specification or the profile specifications. There are things, optional features, I think, things from the, back in the days when the big companies couldn't agree on something, they added it as optional, so those who wanted could implement it, but it's kind of confusing. And we want to get rid of it, but there are some optional things here and there. And these specifications underneath there, this open and XML and stuff, it's still there, it works. They have implementation, those who want to implement them have them, but we don't want to have them as optional in the specification, because it adds to the burden of implementations. So we're saying optional specifications in the platform is gone. Also, as you know, in JEP 4.11, security manager is deprecated for removal. So we're saying that we are not going to depend on security manager in any specifications. So we're not taking it away or anything, we're just removing references to it. So when it is removed, we're not affected by it. If you still use the security manager, you can still use it, as long as it's there. We're also embracing the records all over the platform. All right. What's AI got to do with this? And I must admit, the reason why I came up with this talk is because everybody's talking about AI, and I just wanted to make sure that I could...
That's why we picked it off your
Yeah, I know. So I just wanted to have a talk that I could get into conferences. And I have a conference that I'm doing it in Denver at Apache's conference later. So I knew I had to make the deck and the demos. But you forced me a little bit earlier. Yes?
Can you go back to the SOAP and Jakarta XML stuff? Are you saying you're not going to support that anymore? It's 2 slides before that.
Yeah, so the SOAP and stuff.
We were just 2 slides before we got to the
These two, yeah. So
here's my question.
Yes.
You know, we use I work for Sigma, and most of the this specification become part of a framework. Right now we use a lot of Corpus, right? And we still have some old applications we need to kind of somehow maintain because they were based on SOAP and everything else. And I will tell you that we noticed when we looked at Java 11 to maintain that Jakarta X was gone, and it was a pain to pull out the Jakarta. So anyway, but we still have those libraries that we need to support.
Yes.
So are you saying this is going to appear in a future version of some of these libraries?
So as you see, they are gray. That means they weren't updated even for EE 10. These were updated for EE 9 with the namespace change. So they haven't developed since Java EE 8.
Okay.
But they're still part of the platform. So say that if IBM wants to or somebody wants to pass the TCK as the ratifying compatible implementation, they have to implement this, because even if they're optional, they have to pass the TCK in order, since we list them.
Okay.
So it places the burden on the first implementation, and currently that's Glassfish, because nobody else wants to implement them. Some of them implement SOAP, some of them have something else, but they don't have all of the optional, but they support them potentially. So if you're using it today, you can probably use it in many years going forward. We're just saying they don't have to be implemented in order for a company to say, or a vendor to say, that we are Jakarta EE 11 compatible.
Okay.
So they're still there, and as long as somebody is using it, especially banks are using it, because they're paying the salary for the application server vendors. So as long as somebody wants them, they will implement it and they will have it there. But they probably won't be evolved much further, because SOAP is SOAP, it's not going anywhere. So if there is a new version of SOAP that says that this specification should be redeveloped, then it will be picked up again, and then it will come in, but then it won't be optional, it will be a required specification. So it depends on where the market goes. So there's no need to worry, even though we say we take them away. They're still there.
Okay.
They're there forever. It's just not part of this platform.
Okay, thanks. There's a fire game.
All right. So I'll just go through a couple of these specifications that I will use in the demos. We're just on the same page. So RESTful services, everybody's doing REST. So that's kind of the base specification we're doing. And RESTful services 4.0, you can find everything you want at Jakarta. It's actually specifications. That's where you find all the specifications. And then there's a short name and 4.0. So we're also, I'm digressing a little. We're also trying to simplify the names of the specifications. So we took Jakarta Bean Validation and renamed it to Jakarta Validation. We took Jakarta Server Faces and renamed it to Jakarta Faces. We took Jakarta Server Pages and renamed it to Jakarta Pages. We wanted to take Jakarta RESTful Web Services and rename it to Jakarta REST, but the project opposed it. They didn't want it, so it's still RESTful Web Services. It's a handful, but that's why it's a little longer than the other specifications. So in 4.0, they're starting to mentally prepare to get away from their own component model and embracing CDI. So they're removing managed beans, since we took that away. And they also had a dependency on Jakarta XML binding. And XML binding is one of the optional specifications that is not required anymore. So in order for us to build the APIs with all the transitive dependencies, they had to make this one optional in their specification. It's still supported, but we can drag it into the API. They're also doing some convenience methods here and there and small changes, but it's a 4.0 release because they're deprecating things and they're removing the XML binding explicit. So CDI, that's kind of the glue that glues everything together in Jakarta EE. So it's short for context and dependency injection. And version 4.0 is supporting now. You can inject records and C types. They're deprecating the expression language, and you can use a priority on producers, so you can kind of see what's going to produce first. They're also moving. So yes.
Sorry, I'm gonna ask two more questions.
No, go ahead.
You mentioned one of the reasons you're moving to CDI is it allows you to build the native images. So I'm gonna go back to my question about the .xml. Does that still is that still part of the specification allows us to build that native image? Because we tend to have the same issues with some of these old technologies and try to build a native image, and XML stuff is a part of that. If you no longer support, at least you say you're supporting, but it's not that. Does that still be part of what you're building, so that if somebody's building a native image, that should not be an issue?
I don't think so. And with CDI is still dynamic. So what they're doing in REST is not moving from CDI to CDI Lite. They're moving from their native component model. You can what is it, act resource or whatever you can inject into the Jakarta REST resources. So they have their own injection mechanism and component model there. So we just want to make sure that you can use add inject from CDI all over in REST as well, and not have a parallel component model at their page. It's not about native images. That is the CDI Lite, the subset of the CDI specification that resolves all the dynamic things CDI does on runtime, but at build time. So it's not really connected to this in any way. But all right. Let's see. Yeah. What they're also doing is CDI is a very big specification, and it has a lot of integration things towards other things, like EJBs, for example. And EJBs are a candidate for something we want to replace by CDI in the future. And there are lots of dependencies from CDI on EJBs. And they're moving these integration things over to the platform where they more belong. So that's the big work they're doing in CDI. It's more internal. We as developers won't really notice it. I'm also going to use JSON binding. It wasn't updated in 11, but it's still a very good specification. So, do you want me to demo data as well? Sure. So Jakarta, can I at least go through this slide? So Jakarta data is a new specification in E11, and it standardized the repository pattern for data access. And if you look at this, and if you're using Spring and using Spring data, you'll recognize this one. But this isn't Spring, this is Jakarta data.
Huh?
So we're doing this thing, but we're doing more. So Jakarta data will be more than Spring data. It has all these nifty things with the interface and stuff, but we also have the Jakarta data query language, so you can use to have even more flexibility. And this query language is the subset of the Jakarta persistent query language. And so you can write queries like this in your interfaces. So let's do a quick demo of Jakarta data. And see here, let's see, get this one done, data. So this is I'm using Java 22. It's the milestone 4 of Jakarta EE. And I have the Open Liberty Maven plugin, which enables me to just deploy on Open Liberty and run it in development mode, as you're used to from for example, Cortex. So if I just write Liberty Dev as a Maven stuff there, then it will just start up OpenLiberty and look for changes when I use it. So the rest of the application, is a fairly simple, small application. It has this Jakarta REST application. So this is how you define a Jakarta REST application in Jakarta EE. You just extend the application class from Jakarta REST and set an application path. That's kind of the root if you have that. I also have a greetings class here, which is an Jakarta persistence entity, which has a ID name and a message. And I have a greetings resource where I have a get, where I can get a list of greetings, or I can add a greeting. And if I go and query this one now, you can see it's empty because I haven't added anything yet. So if I start implementing this method, you'll see that I'm adding things, and we'll look at this. And to do this, I have to create a repository. So, and that is an interface, and let's call it reading repository. And this one extends CRUD repository, and it has a greeting with a greeting and an ID. So this is exactly as you would do with Spring. And I can add the repository annotation. You see all of them are Jakarta data. So now I have added a greeting repository, and I can inject this one in my class here. So I add the greeting repository, and rather than returning a empty list, I can now do a final. And now you can see I have this final, say, find my ID and all this stuff that is generated for me from Jakarta data. So I'll do this find all and as a list. So now I'm querying the database, and it still returns nothing because I haven't added anything to the database yet. So if I want to add something in the database, I can use this post method, and here I get the greeting in. So I'll just say greeting saved is greeting repository saved greeting. So I'm just saving it there, and I'll say greeting saved with ID saved get ID, and return that message back and save it in the database. So if I now go here and I do this post where I say hello from, I was in Spain, in Paraguay when I did this demo. That's why I say hello. So I say hello from Duke, and I post this one, this JSON, into my greetings. So it says okay, and if I now go and do the get, you know, see I now have a Duke in the database. So, and I also can say hello from Miss Duke, like this, and post this one, and I should now have two of them in my database. So everything this simple works very well, and also as with Spring, I can add a method here that is a optional greeting, find by name, ignore case, and
you gotta spell it right though.
Sorry?
You gotta spell case right, or it'll trick you up later. There you go.
So I can use this kind of domain-specific language for creating these queries. I could also add this query annotation and do all kinds of fancy things, but for now I'll just do this one. Here I actually have cheated a little bit. So I'm doing this. If I do a get with a path variable name, I full name out of it, and I do this find by name, ignore case. And then I just take the first one if I can find it or not. So if I now go, this one you see, I get 2 of them. But if I wanted to filter on Duke, then I can get hello from Duke. So that's how easy Jakarta data is. Very quick.
That's neat.
Do you think it's useful? Like it?
Mm-hmm.
Are you using Spring Data? So this is the same thing. And the cool thing about Jakarta data is that now I showed how it works with Jakarta persistence. And it also works with Jakarta NoSQL. So you can query a NoSQL database there as well. And there is an opportunity there. This is a very simple or sort of simple specification to implement. So if you want to make a career and be a hero in open source other than running the triangle job, go to Apache and create a startup project and implement Jakarta data. They would be super happy, we would be super happy, the community would be super happy, and you would get a lot of credit for it. Okay, AI then. This is where it gets a little shaky. I have a couple of slides, but these slides are just backing the demo. So I'll do a lot of code there. And I'm not an expert in AI, and I definitely don't want to learn Python or do Python to do AI. And luckily, in the beginning of the year, that was what everybody thought. Oh, I'm abandoning Java. I have to do Python because it's AI. But when you think about it, in an enterprise application, you're not writing the model, right? We're just using it. We're calling it, and it's like calling a REST API or something. So in all these demos, I'm just having an application, and I'm calling an AI. It could be a model that you have created internally in your company, or it could be using ChatGPT or directly, or something else. So I'm just thinking the AI things is something somebody else, or you've created yourself, but it's not necessarily something that you as a developer using it are doing. So, and the obvious place to start with all these things are Spring. But because Spring has a fairly cool Spring AI. And so I'll demo an application, and I'll use OpenAI as the model for everything there. That's just because I was lazy and I spent $5 on credits on OpenAI, which I spent 9 cents on preparing the demo, and that was only because I happened to call an image service which cost 8 cents. So all the other calls have just been 1 cent. So it's very cheap to do that as a developer, and it's very easy to use. But you can switch it with any other if you want to use a Hugging Face or Grok or Microsoft thing or whatever. It doesn't really change how you do things. So let's look at Spring AI. And I just went to Spring, start Spring. Is this big enough, or should I bump it up a little? So I just went to Spring, start Spring IO and generated an application using AI and REST. So you can see here I have it's on Spring 3.2.4. And I'm using the Spring AI 0.8.1, so it's fairly immature everything. Nothing has come to version 1.0 yet. But. So I'm using the Spring Starter Web and the Spring OpenAI Boot Starter. If you're using a different model, you will use something else, Spring Boot Starter. But this is, and other than this, it's just the basic Spring stuff. The application is very simple. It's called Spring AI application, and it just starts Spring Boot. I have a REST controller. That's the way you create REST interfaces in Spring. And I'm injecting in I'm using field injection just to if you want to use constructors, do so. Fields are just as good. Don't listen to those who say it's much easier, and it fits better on the screen. And it has a get. You ask the AI here, and takes in a message. That's kind of what you want to call with the AI, and it calls a Spring AI service call. And the Spring AI service, that's my implementation here. And what I've done, I could have just injected the chat client directly in the resource, but I did create a component, Spring component out of it, and I'll come to that later. And this one just inject the chat client and just call the message. So this is how simple you can do it with Spring, and it's pretty amazing how simple they've made it. And the only configuration you need to have is you have to have an API key to whatever service you're going to. So it's pretty cool. So if I test this one, Duke's Spring Maven clean package, just make sure I have the latest version, and then I'll target this. There we go. And now I can what did I say? It was Duke's AI. Tell me a joke. There we go. So what I'm saying now is I'm calling my AI endpoint with the message, tell me a joke. And here it says, who can find my it's probably going to return the same joke several times, but so this is how easy it is to integrate to a AI system. You don't need Python, you don't need anything else. This is just Java, and this is just Spring, and this is how easy it can be. But we're not super fans of Spring, so we want to do it with other technologies. And there is something that is fairly adjacent to Jakarta EE. They implement a couple of APIs, not fully, but it's a very good alternative. So Quarkus also has this cool thing, and that they have a AI support that actually is sort of CDI. And I'm saying sort of CDI because Quarkus doesn't implement CDI properly. They have their own version of it, but with Quarkus it works. What I wanted to do was to take the Quarkus AI library and just jack it into a Jakarta EE application, but that doesn't work because they don't implement CDI properly. And they know about it. So here also, the same kind of configuration, you just need a key. And the application, I can look at the one as well. So this one is using Java 21, some version of Quarkus. You have the Quarkus bomb. I'm using Quarkus REST, JSON binding, and LangChain for J OpenAI. So that's what you get when you do Quarkus start a Spring AI or the AI project. And this one is fairly cool. I mean, this is Jakarta EE REST or Jakarta REST. So you have the act path and the act get that produces. So everything is kind of familiar to Jakarta developers. So go in here, it's very easy. You use add inject rather than add order virus. In Spring you can use add inject as well, but here you do it like sort of properly. And here it pulls in the message, like Spring did, and it calls this a joke service or AI service. And this one is, here's where the CDI Quarkus magic come in. You have the register AI service. And then I can do a lot of configuration around it, but the only configuration I am actually interested in is the message I'm sending. And that's the @user message. And you can put it in the class annotation if it's always the same message you're sending, or in my case, I'm sending a message I'm getting in through the REST API. So this is how I configure this one. And I've done all of this also in the REST resource. I didn't have to inject a AI service, but I just wanted to do it the same way for all of these applications. So if I go to the stop the Spring application, I think with Quarkus you can write Quarkus around it. So well, I didn't start. So let's general. I have to think maybe plain package and then
Maybe.
Oh.
Oh. Oh well.
It's getting late. I'll just blame it on Jack later. There we go. So I think if I have Mac, I can use Quarkus running. Can't I?
Well, there it goes.
There we go. So if I now tell this one to tell me a joke, it does the same thing. So you see, it's just two lines of code and I call the AI. All right. So but Quarkus, as I said, is, I mean, it's cool, and in many aspects it's better than Spring. In other aspects it's not as good, but it's kind of the same thing. But we're talking about Jakarta EE. So how would we do this with Jakarta EE? So the first thing I'm going to do is just the vanilla approach, and that is if you, I'll just get rid of this one. If I go to like the OpenAI API, it is a REST API, and you can see here how I can call it. So it's just a simple REST API. And as remember, REST is something we have in Jakarta EE. So let's implement this one. And we also have a start Jakarta EE. So if you want to get started with Jakarta EE, you can go to this here, and we have a little bit more choices you have to make, but if you just keep the defaults, you'll get something useful. And this will create a hello world application in Jakarta EE for you. So if you want to test it out, this is a good way to do it. I have done that and prepared a empty project for us. And this is very empty. And if I look at the POM file, you can see I'm using the milestone 4 of Jakarta EE. I'm using Java 22. And I have a couple of plugins. So I've got Open Liberty plugins, so I can run it the way I did with the data, so I can use Open Liberty. Or I have the Cargo plugin, so I can run it with Kayara. And I have the Wi-Fi plugin, so I can run it with Wi-Fi. So these are the three. I mean, you could do all of them, all the implementations. They are similar plugins. So I just added these three to have three different examples. The application in itself is as we looked as in data. This is how you define a REST application. I have a REST A source on Path AI here. I haven't implemented it yet because that's what I'm going to do now. And I also have a OpenAI client, which I also haven't implemented yet. So if I want to do this one, let's do if I want to create a get method in Jakarta EE, I would do the @get as you probably know, and I would have the produces some text type text plain. There we go. I would have a public string, maybe not hello, call AI, and then I would
maybe return the OpenAI client, call OpenAI, with a message. And this message is something I would go from a querygram called message, which is a string message. So now I'm doing the same thing as we did a string. I'm just pulling in a message, I'm sending it to OpenAI client and calling it. And this is just the application. So we haven't started doing AI yet at all. So let's do this. And if you look at this one, there is a request here that is this chat client is kind of a completion, that's what I call it, and it has some attributes here. So it's just take this JSON and map it to a Java object, and the same way as the response to figure out the one we're interested in is the content activity. I mean, all the others are good for advanced, but for a demo, this is really good. So what that's what I'm interested in, and I've cheated a little bit so you wouldn't just stand here and see me type. So I just created this completion object, which is a mapping from that JSON and the fields I'm interested in. So it has a role and content, getters and setters, there's a model and messages. And the same thing with the response, the completion response. So I just have to create some Java objects that can map back and forth from JSON to Java. So that's kind of the tedious thing. And if I want to call this on, I'll first have to create that request to kind of populate that content object with what I need. So what I do is I create this completion. I say I want to use GPT-4.0, role as user, and I want the message to be the content I'm sending. And that's about it. Then I want to just instantiate the Jakarta REST client for calling, and then I'll call this, use this client to call this OpenAPI and get the completion response back. And I've this one. Let's do the response. So I'll create a response object by saying I'm calling OpenAI. That's the same one I had here. And then I want application JSON. I set the API key, and I take the completion object. That's what I'm sending down there. And I want the response. And then what I get back is that I read this entity, but from JSON into a completion response object. And I just go and get the content because that's the only thing I'm interested in this case. This is a very stupid example. Right? You wouldn't do this in production, but this is kind of the most simplistic way of doing this. So it's plain vanilla REST. So it's a little bit more verbose than the Spring stuff, but we'll get to it. So do Jakarta AI, name clean package. Let's see if I got this right. And I'll also do the Maven Liberty run. So I'll run this in Open Liberty. So it's starting here. So it's now up and running. So it probably has a port conflict since I started it when I had this one running. So I'll just do it again. Start it, and then I can do the call here. So I'm doing the same call. Tell me a joke. and it does. So you can see how simple it's. You don't have to learn a new API. It's a little verbose and stuff, but I mean we do this every day. But we can do better. And one thing that has popped up this year is LangChain4j. Anybody using LangChain4j? Heard of it? So LangChain4j is an amazing project. It's pretty cool. It is a Java implementation of LangChain, which is something that you can use to communicate with LLMs. So what I'm going to do is just pull in LangChain in my Jakarta application and use that instead. So to do that, I just have to add one dependency. So I'll go here to the dependencies. I have the Jakarta platform here. So I'll see demo LangChain dependencies. So I'm adding LangChain4j, and I'm adding the OpenAI. So if you're using another model, you would use the core LangChain4j, and then you would add whatever you're calling. And they have lots of them. They have for everyone. Right? So just pull the one you want to use. So now I have these things in my application. So now I can, rather than creating this client here, I can rather do. Let me see if I here. So I can just create a. I just have to refresh the phone. So I can create this OpenAPI language model, instantiate it with the API key, and then I can rather than calling my OpenAI client there, I can comment out this too. I'm now just calling model.generate message. So I don't need these completion things any longer. The only thing I need to do is be able to call this model. Let's see if this works. And I'll run this one in cargo. So now I'm using a different implementation. So this is kind of the strength of Jakarta EE, is that you can switch the implementation on it as long as it implements the specifications. So now I'm using Toyara, which is it's based on an early version of Glassfish, but involves instance. So I just switched from OpenLiberty to Toyara without changing. Yes?
Why do you care which one you're using?
It depends on which one your company has as a contract with for support. So if you're a Red Hat shop, you're probably using JBoss or what. If you're using IBM, you're using IBM. If you're using Oracle, you're using Logic. So it depends on what the corporate money people decides. We as developers, we don't care.
Got it.
So now if I do this, so it works here as well. But we can do better.
Tell me a joke that's actually funny.
Yeah.
Prompt engineering.
So wouldn't it be nice to let CDI do this LangChain thing rather than
nice.
Having this to instantiate the model? So here I have to instantiate. I'll shorten this a little bit so it looks better. So rather than having to instantiate the model like this, let's inject it with CDI. And to do that, I have to create a producer. So I'll call it OpenAI producer. I'll give this a scope. I can use dependent or application scope or something, whatever fits. And I'll use the produces And here, this is where we have a name conflict. One of them is that there is a Jakarta RESTful produces, that is kind of the media type you have in your REST APIs, but then CDI is Enterprise inject. So in this case, it's the CDI producer, so I have to use this one. And I can return a OpenAI model, get model, like this. And then in my resource here, rather than doing this stuff here, I can do it here and just return this one in my producer. Then in the resource, I can now inject OpenAI language model directly, and I don't have to do this. So I can just call the model directly. So the code looks much neater and nicer. So if we start this, starting, see if it has better jokes this time. Maybe we can do tell me a better joke. That's not it, that's a yet. So just keep going. There we go.
Oh no.
I think it's just starting. So
It's truncated because it was too tired.
yeah. Tell me a better. So. but
That was funny.
but what if I really like Spring, and I want to use Spring with Spring AI with Jakarta EE? So that's actually possible using CDI. It's sort of the same trick as we did with the OpenAI, but with the OpenAI we can just instantiate the model. With Spring we have to do it a little bit more. This is not necessarily something I would advise of doing as kind of a first approach. It's more of a demo thing, but it's pretty cool. So and it's fun. So and it's sort of, if you have to use Spring AI, then you can do this. So I'm going to use the same Spring application I had here earlier. I also have created a component, so I have a backup. So, but in order to add this, if I wanted to, rather than using the LangChain, I'm going to use the let me see, it's called AI. No, it's called Spring AI. So if I inject this Spring Boot application directly in my Jakarta application, I can comment out the LangChain. So there is a little caveat because the Spring Boot plugin, it does a little magic tricks with the Spring Boot application. So it's not created as a regular jar file you can consume in a Jakarta application. So we need to remove the Spring Boot magic. So you probably wouldn't take your application and just do this. You would drag out the Spring stuff that is the things, and I'll show how that is done afterwards. But if you want to take out the application, I can just uncomment the Spring Boot Maven plugin. But if I do that, I have to uncomment the Spring Boot testing as well, because the context won't be loaded when it's compiled. But who tests anyway? So I'll just do this, and then take the Spring AI Maven clean install, right? Because now I need it in my Maven repository, so I can consume it. Let's see if this works. Oh yes. So there is some stuff I actually have to. That's how we fix the failure tests.
That's one way.
So I've installed it in my Maven repository. And then I can pull it in to my Jakarta EE application. I have it here, so I'll just reload this one. So the OpenAI producer won't work anymore. So I'll just So I'm going to add a new producer here. I'm going to call it Spring AI producer. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Just call it integrations.This fun. And I'll have the produce. I wonder if I have the produce Spring. Yeah. So the first thing I have to do is just grab the Spring contexts, and then I need to get this annotation config application context for Spring. So this is the trick about it. So I get this annotation config context, and then I can register the Spring AI application with this Spring context. And if you remember from my Spring application here, the Spring boot application, that's kind of my application context. This does a lot of things. And so this one is the one I registered with this context and just call it refreshing. So now I have kind of refreshed the Spring context. And then I can, in the producer method, I can from the Spring context get a Spring beat. And that's where I get this Spring AI component. This is registered in this context as a Spring beat. And I now have it in the Spring context in my Jakarta EE application. I can just get it there and return it. So in my, here I can now inject a Spring AI service as the model. But now it's not the model generate, now it's the model call, which is the Spring. That's the call method. So now it's that one I call from my application. So now I call directly to the Spring, where I'm using the Spring chat client. So let's see if this works. So Maven package. Or no, just cargo run. This doesn't necessarily work in all containers. So oh yeah, I have some OpenAI stuff here still. So I noticed in Wildfly they wouldn't load the Spring contexts, but it seems like Priora they were fine with it. So here it depends on a little bit on the application. So this is kind of a little shaky that you probably don't necessarily want to do all the time. So soon started. There you go. So now let's see if it has any better than this one. So now it calls Spring to the AI. But it's the same joke, right? It could be seeing that I'm calling the same thing over and over again, so it's caching and stuff. We also have another interesting project called Helidon. Anybody heard of Helidon? So Helidon is sort of the same thing as Quarkus, sort of the same thing as Spring. It's from Oracle. It's open source. And it actually implements Jakarta EE. Helidon is Jakarta EE core profile compatible. So this one has all the proper CDI and everything. So if you want to use Helidon with this, you can do everything I've done in this Jakarta EE application. It will work with Helidon as well. And here I have the application. It looks exactly the same as we had the resource. Here when I've tested it, I've used the OpenAI language one, the Spring AI service, and the doing it LangChain for J. So here you can look at the source code afterwards, but all this works directly in Helidon, and Helidon is super fast. And it's implemented on 21 and higher, so it's virtual threads from the bottom up.
Nice.
So it's very fast and has a lot of throughput. It's absolutely a product usually. So to sum up, Jakarta 10, as the version is out there now. 10 had all these updates and changes. With 11, we're doing about the same amount of updates. Data is the new specification. That's kind of the star in our stack. And this is the history of the 3 latest Jakarta EE releases. Coming in later this year. On 21, we're supporting virtual threads, and we're doing that with a little trick. Even though it's compiled to 17 and supports 17, we're doing what we call runtimes where support of virtual threads. So we don't bake it into the API, so we can still compile to 17, but it's a flag that says virtual equals true or false. So if you set that to true and we're running on 21, you will get a virtual thread from the managed thread execution services, for example. But if you're running on 17, you will get a platform. So it will work on Jakarta EE and AI. I mean, if I were to start with this today, I would look at LangChain for J and use that API. That's evolving very fast. It's very good. And you can use all the power and leverage everything that you get with Jakarta EE and use LangChain for J as a single dependency or 2 dependencies in your application, and you will find that. You can add CDI around it if you want. I wouldn't do kind of the Spring thing maybe, other than just for testing. Quarkus is cool. If you're on Quarkus, the Quarkus are developing, and they announced something today. I think also very good support for AI, much more advanced than what I'm showing here today. So Quarkus has good support if you're there. Spring AI, if you're in the Spring community. If you're on Jakarta EE today, I would use LangChain for J. Why haven't we added it to Jakarta EE? Why aren't we adding it today? Well, as you see, everything is 0-something version. It's evolving so fast. 1 year ago, nobody knew anything about how to use AI. And we're standards. So for us to add something in a standard, it should live forever, like SOAP does. It's not going away, even though we're removing it from the platform. It's still there. So to standardize something around AI today, that would be a little bit premature. So we're kind of looking at it. LangChain for J is a very good candidate for an implementation of something, but we'll see where it lands. So today, Jakarta EE, if you want to use that with AI, you should use a library and hook in, and LangChain for J is probably the place to go. Right, if you want to learn about Jakarta EE and learn about Jakarta EE 10, you can do this course on LinkedIn. If you have a LinkedIn learning account, so you get it for free. I think some states you can get it from your library card. I don't know how in North Carolina is, but if you have that, please do that course. You get a nice Jakarta EE certificate on your LinkedIn profile. If you don't have a learning account, connect with me through LinkedIn, and I can give you a free version of the course. But you need to connect with me on LinkedIn to get it, because I can only give it to LinkedIn contacts. So now you should remember that first slide, right? Okay, so if you want to learn about Jakarta EE, go to Jakarta EE. If you want to test it out, go to start.jakarta.ee. If you want to find my LinkedIn, go to my blog. The demo code is on my GitHub. It's called Duke AI. On Jakarta EE, I have on the community subsection. I have a page for Developer Advocate. I'll add it to this list before I publish the slides. But there you can see where I am and all the LinkedIn and social media. So with that, thank you very much for listening. I've got 4 minutes over, but I hope you
Oh, you're good
with that. And thank you for having me here. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have stickers for everybody, and I have 2 hats. So